I'm sure I'm the one that people have to clean up after. Again.
Boy, she's terrific.
She's the best. Love her.
Yeah, because she gave lots of answers that didn't give anything away, but
at least she said something.
Piqued interest.
Right.
As opposed to just going over there.
Now we have
and just,
a million more questions.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I really do get to clean up.
Is there an overview you can give of this season?
Yeah, I mean, listen. It's a lot like, in some ways, it's not similar to season 1, but in terms of the story structure, it's a group of young people that land on a new world and have to overcome the challenges and figure out how to survive. I mean, that's, in a nutshell, what the series has been about from the beginning. It's all different challenges. It's a totally new world. The moon, as it turns out, if you saw the screening today, it's been revealed it's not a planet, it's actually a moon. Of a bigger gas giant planet, which we see in the sky. It's funny, we didn't realize that I wanted to. I'm going to back up just a little bit. One of the things that is important, I think, the sort of crucial moment for people this season is, do you believe that you're on another planet? We're shooting this show in the same place that we shot it for 5 seasons, and to try to make the audience suspend disbelief, to me, was like my mantra. I was hitting everybody with it all the time. We have to push really hard to make the audience believe we're not in Kansas anymore. One of the ways is there's 2 suns, so of course, that tells you you're not on Earth. The other way is this big gas giant that we've now seen in the sky. Unfortunately, as it turns out, you can't see a gas giant in the sky if you're on another planet. Apparently, there's something to do with like orbital distances and shit that I don't understand, frankly. But I have really smart writers that were like, they took one look at the sort of 10th Visifex shot and they're like, Sanctum's not a planet, Jason, it's a moon. And so we had to like quickly rewrite some scenes to, as we saw in the 601 screening today, sort of the big, holy crap, it's a moon scene. So I don't know if that answered. I have no idea how I got on that rant. I'm not as good as Tubbs.
I asked you to set up the season.
No, that
was great.
How much
Thank you.
Bellamy in the episode Bob directed?
How much? Too much. One of the things, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean like, he wanted to focus on directing. By the way, he's awesome. He did a great job, as I knew he would. But it was his first time at bat, and it's hard to direct yourself in a performance. And so as writers, I made it clear, we want him to be in less story in his episode than he normally would be. Unfortunately, sometimes the story breaks, the way it breaks. And he directed 611, and so as it, kind of sets up the finale story in a big way, it was impossible not to have him in it. So there's some really great Bellamy scenes, and it was frustrating for him. I don't want to speak for him, but I know it was frustrating for him to have to kind of like go in front of the camera and not be able to really fine-tune everything that's happening. That said, our crew is so good, and by now he was surrounded by directors. Like our first AD, Ian Smoyle, has directed 3 episodes for us and is awesome. Our DP, Mike Lindell, has directed 2 episodes for us. So Marshall Virtue, our stunt coordinator, directed this season episode 9. So he was surrounded by people that were there to sort of like help him when he needed it, which wasn't much. But in those moments when he's on camera, it's hard to also like determine whether it's in focus.
One of the things I thought was interesting in the trailer is you mentioned the eclipse-induced psychosis.
Yeah.
Is that going to affect like everybody coming off the cruise ship? And can you tell us a little bit more about what that actually means?
Yeah. So Eligius III landed on Sanctum like 236 years ago and thought they'd found paradise. And then, hi Marie.
Tell me more.
Can I help you? And then, within I think it was day 21, when the first eclipse happened, and bad things resulted. People were never supposed to be on Sanctum. It was not because of the life cycle of the planet, which is, and I said a little bit about this in the panel, but which is every time those planets come in alignment, the red sun, as the book says, when the stars align and the forest wakes, it's time to run away. Because eclipse-induced psychosis happens, and the insects and the sort of lower level species, really that's as far as evolution probably would have gotten on this planet, because they wipe each other almost out to extinction every time this happens, and the plants feed on the dead. That's essentially, it's a plant-dominated moon. That's probably a spoiler, but whatever. I can do that. Anyway, it's a plant-dominated world, and that's their defense. And ultimately, when people showed up, it affects them too. It affects our nervous systems as well. So.
And so with J.R. Bourne's character, is he somebody who's got used to that psychosis, and somebody who's going to help them through it, or is he going to be a bit of...
Well, they've definitely figured out. They have a system by which they have survived, obviously, as a society for this long. So they've clearly worked out, the ins and outs and what to do when the planets come in alignment, and what's the early warning system so they can get out in time. And, if they don't, that's all something they've worked out. Do they want to have 500 more people, come into their world, several hundred of which are prisoners, murderers and thieves and, the worst of the worst? And he's going to know that. That's a big question for his character this season. So
And
I don't know if that answers your question.
Given that there are so many of them, are the cryopods, being in the cryopods for over a century, is that going to affect them in any way?
No, not really. They maybe it's not the most accurate depiction if there was such a thing as cryo. I wish there was. But there's very little hangover effect. In fact, they kind of snap out of it pretty quickly. More quickly than I would prefer, to be honest. Anyway.
You're returning on April 30th? That's kind of like, that's right at the beginning of, sweeps.
Yeah.
Where a lot of stuff is going to be going on. It must be flattering the way that they've scheduled you when things might be competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I know that Mark Pedowitz has wanted to program, all year round.
Right.
And, on some level, we're a little bit of the experimental, we can bring our audience with us no matter how late they air us. And, the world that we live in, as you guys know, as people who write online, I'm assuming that's what all of you do. It's a internet world now. It's people watch television and watch these things in ways they don't watch it overnight. They don't watch it, and so much of our audience is international that don't know what the CW is. I hear all the time, I thought it was a Netflix show.
E4 in England.
Yeah. So they thought it was an E4 show,
Can you talk about any new characters this season? That'll be the last question.
Well, we talked about JR some. Chuku Modu plays a character who he's awesome. People are going to love him. I can't talk much about him, but he's a big part of the season. There's a whole cast of new people coming into our lives. But we bring them in a little bit slowly. I felt a little bad for JR today because he's not in the premiere, but he was with us because I felt like he's such a new, sort of great addition to the cast. And I just wanted him to get a chance to be up there and talk about him a little bit, even though we can't really say anything about what he's up to. But his whole family is kind of our characters that we will know well.
Very quickly, can I ask?
Not JR, but Russell.
Prequel? Any news?
I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I'm working on a prequel script that is sort of the teaser of it. I can talk about this forever, but I won't. The teaser of it is essentially 15 minutes to get to the tarmac at Cape Canaveral, where there's 3 rockets waiting to take people off the planet because they know the bombs are coming. And it's this crazy, emotional sequence. And it turns out that one of the characters that we're following on that journey is Clarke's great grandmother. And her mother is in space as an astronaut aboard one of the 12 stations, and it's Mad Max in space with air and water and fuel instead of gasoline.
Amazing.
Thank
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You got Marie. I think it looks like you have Marie.